Hey, I'm going to do a quick lesson on order of operations. So let me go to the whiteboard here. Now, I do have a touchscreen computer, and when I do the whiteboard, it's not going to be great, but it should be enough for you all to at least read. Okay? So, order of operations is something that's going to come up quite a bit in Tier 1. Basically, order of operations is used when you have more than one operation in a single problem or a single expression. And so in math, when we talk about operations, see what I told you, it's really messy. When we talk about operations, we mean addition, subtraction, multiplication, division, and then you can also have exponents and square roots. So anytime you hear operations in a math class, think these different things here: addition, subtraction, multiplication, division, exponents, and square roots. Okay? So the actual order of operations, it tells us the order in which we perform those operations. So first step is to take care of anything that's in parentheses or other grouping symbols. Depending on the problem and depending on the level you're in, you might see something other than just parentheses. So you can see, of course, the parentheses. You could see brackets. You could see curly braces. Okay? So anything in those grouping symbols, that's kind of like the generic term we use for those. Next, you would do exponents and square roots. Okay? And sometimes you'll see square roots up in the grouping symbols because you could have a square root that had a problem of its own inside, but generally speaking, exponents and square roots are the second step. The third step is multiplication and division. Multiplication and division kind of do the same thing, just in reverse of each other, but they're going to count as the same step always. So you do multiplication and division, but you have to do them left to right. So whichever one shows up first, going left to right, that's what you're going to do. So it doesn't mean do your multiplication first and then all of your division. It means whichever one shows up first in the problem. So if division shows up first, you do your division first. If multiplication shows up first, take care of that. And then the fourth step is addition and subtraction. And it's the exact same thing as multiplication and division. You do whichever one shows up first, left to right. Now, some of you might have heard, please excuse my dear Aunt Sally, or PEMDAS, and that's fine. Those are good ways to remember the steps to the order of operations. Just be really careful because please excuse my dear Aunt Sally and PEMDAS. Both of them would indicate that you do multiplication before division and then you do addition before subtraction, and that's not necessarily true, okay? So these two steps right here, just be really careful with, okay? So let's look at a few problems. We'll start really, really small, and then we'll build up some that are a bit more complicated. So let's say I have 15 plus 3 times 2, okay? So if we go back to the order of operations, the steps right here, we can see that we would take care of multiplication and division before we would take care of the addition and subtraction. So I need to take care of my multiplication and my division first, then I'll go back and add, okay? So here's what I do. It's a good way to organize your work, okay? 9 times out of 10, students that struggle with math, they're also very unorganized with their work. And so kind of as you're working through the steps, be very neat, be very organized, and don't try to do 2 or 3 steps at once. There's nothing impressive about doing math in your head. I'm much, much more impressed with what you can show me on paper, right? So I'm going to rewrite the 15 and the plus, and then I'm going to go ahead and take care of the 3 times 2. So 3 times 2 is 6. And now I just want to take care of 15 plus 6, which is 21. So this would be the final answer, okay? So then let's say, let's go to another page. So let's say I have 28 divided by 7 times 2 plus 3. So in this particular problem, we have division, we have multiplication, and we have addition. And if you go back to that second screen that I showed you were the steps to the order of operations. We definitely want to take care of multiplication and division before we take care of the addition. So looking right here, I've got my multiplication and my division. And so if we were in the classroom and I had live active participants, I would say, okay, which do we do first, the division or the multiplication? Well, in this case, we want to do the division first because it shows up first from left to right. So I'm going to take care of my division. 28 divided by 7 is 4. And then I'm just going to rewrite the problem. So 4 times 2 plus 3. So now I just have multiplication and addition. According to the steps to the order of operations, I do my multiplication first. So 4 times 2 is 8. And then I'm going to bring down the plus 3. And then my final answer is just going to be 8 plus 3 or 11. So step by step, neat and organized. Don't try to do multiple steps at a time. Don't try to do steps in your head. The best thing you can do with math is write every single step down. Okay, if you need some scrap paper, you can come by the campus one day when I'm there and I can get you some scrap paper so you don't waste your own fresh paper. Another thing you can do is those little like whiteboards you can get at like Target, Walmart, the Dollar Tree. See if you can find one of those and you can do a lot of your work on that, and then you don't have to waste tons and tons of paper. But the best thing you can do with order of operations is show every single step. Okay, let's try another one. So this time I have 6 times 5 plus 8 times 2. So I have multiplication. I also have addition. And if you look here, I've got 2 separate multiplications. We can do them at the same time or in the same step. So I'm going to go ahead and start with 6 times 5, which is 30. And then I can take care of 8 times 2, which is 16. And then the very last step is to take care of that addition. So 30 plus 16 is 46, okay? Again, a lot of this order of operation stuff, you might get numbers that are a little bit bigger, like the addition, the subtraction, the multiplication, the division. It might be stuff where you need to show your steps. That's absolutely okay. Do some side work, right? Don't forget, you can get these little whiteboards. A lot of times you can get them for $1 or $2. If you find a good deal on one, see if you can buy one, get some cheap dry erase markers, and then you don't have to waste your paper. If you can't get a dry erase board, let me know and I can give you a stack of old scratch paper. You just have to meet me on campus one day, okay? But show your work. Don't try to do stuff in your head. And don't become super duper reliant on your calculators, okay? They're great. And they're really great when you get really nasty numbers, but for really basic, just simple multiplication, division, addition, and subtraction, you really do need to work at learning how to do that kind of on your own without the aid of a calculator, all right? Let's try another one. Okay. So I have 14, and then it looks like there's a fraction in here, but it's not really. Division is kind of tricky because there are multiple ways that we can represent division. So what we would do in this particular case is either rewrite this where it looks like standard division, or just acknowledge that this right here simply means divide. So if you want to see it written out differently, we would have 14 plus 24 divided by 8. So according to the order of operations, I would take care of my division first. So 24 divided by 8 is 3. And then I've got my addition, so my final answer is going to be 14 plus 3, or 17. All right, cool. All right, moving on. The next one is a little trickier looking because it's going to look like a fraction right off the bat, but if you're in Unit 1 of Tier 1, you're not going to see fractions. You won't see fractions until Unit 2, so it kind of depends on what unit you're in. But if you are in Unit 1 and you saw something like this, you have nothing to worry about. It's going to look like a fraction for sure. But what we can do here is we can just completely work out the numerator, we can completely work out the denominator, and then we can just divide, kind of like we did in that previous example. So if I'm looking at just the numerator, or that's the top part of this problem, I have 6 plus 9 divided by 3, and I'll just treat it like it's its very own problem. So I would take care of the division first according to the order of operations. So rewriting the problem, I have 6 plus, and then 9 divided by 3 is 3. So 6 plus 3 is 9. So right here, the numerator of this fraction, or the top, is 9. And then for the bottom, we have 3 to the second power, or 3 squared. And just a quick reminder of exponents. Exponents are like shorthand for repeated multiplication. So this right here is telling me that 3, we call it the base, is being multiplied by itself repeatedly. The exponent here, 2, tells us how many times to multiply the 3. So this translates to 3 times 3, or 9. So my denominator is also 9. So at this point, you want to just do your division. Remember, if it looks like a fraction, it really just means division. So 9 divided by 9 is what we really have, and that equals 1. Cool. Not too bad. So if you see something that looks like a fraction right off the bat, go ahead and separate the top and the bottom, do 2 separate order of operations, and then divide at the end. All right, let's see. This one's going to look a little nasty, but if you take it nice and slow, it's not too bad. I have 3 plus 5 squared in parentheses, and then I'm going to divide that by 2 and multiply by 3 squared. Okay. Now, if we were to go back several pages, we would have that list of order of operations. And remember, the first thing I said we do is take care of parentheses, or if you had brackets or braces, you would take care of that at this point too. So that just means inside the parentheses, you have your own order of operations. So we want to take care of everything inside the parentheses and then worry about all of this other stuff that's not inside the parentheses. So looking just inside parentheses, I have 3 plus 5 squared. And remember, 5 squared is basically just 5 times 5, so 25. I'm going to rewrite the rest of the problem. Remember, step by step, don't try to rush these. All right, so 3 plus 25 is still inside parentheses, so I'm going to go ahead and add. Once I completely finish what's inside parentheses, I can just kind of drop the parentheses. So I get 28 divided by 2 times 3 squared. Now, the next step to the order of operations is once you take care of everything that's inside your grouping symbols, in this case parentheses, you want to take care of your exponents, okay? So I get 28 divided by 2 times 9. 3 squared is really just 3 times 3, or 9. And now I've got just multiplication and division. And just don't forget, it's not multiply and then divide. It's whichever one shows up first from left to right. So at this point, I want to take care of the 28 divided by 2, which is 14. And then I get 14 times 9. And if you need to do a little side work, do it. Again, don't become so heavily reliant on your calculator that you can't do anything by hand. So I'm going to go over here, do a little side work. I need to figure out what 14 times 9 is. So what I would do is I would multiply the 9 and the 4. So 9 times 4 is 36. I keep the 6, and then I carry that 3. And so then what I do is I multiply the 9 and the 1. Well, 9 times 1 is just 9. And then I add whatever I carry to it. There's 3 right here. So 9 plus 3 is 12. Now, if I have not already put this in Moodle, I will try to put it in Moodle soon. You can take a multiplication table and use it, and it can actually be used for multiplication, it can be used for division, and it can be used for square roots as long as you've got a perfect square. So I can make sure I have one of those in Moodle for you all. So something like this right here, you could do this on a multiplication table easily, okay? But still, try to practice some of this stuff. Try to do some of those multiplications by hand so you can kind of get back into the swing of doing some math by hand. Because for some of you, it's probably been years since you've done math on paper. All right? So let's go. I've got 2 more. So let's try this one. This is another really long one. I've got 6 squared times, in parentheses, 10 minus 8. And then I've got plus 2 to the third, and then plus 5 to the second. So you've got lots of exponents, you've got parentheses, and you've got multiplication, and you've got addition. So what we want to start with is go ahead and take care of what's in the parentheses. So 10 minus 8, that's pretty easy. 10 minus 8 is just 2. And I'm going to rewrite the rest of the problem. So now I've got 6 squared times 2 plus 2 cubed plus 5 squared. So what I want to do now, step 2 of the order of operations, is always to take care of all of your exponents. So I've got 6 squared, 2 to the third, 5 to the second. And we can do a little side work over here if we want. 6 squared, remember, the base of 6 is getting multiplied by itself. And you multiply it as many times as the exponent tells you to. So this is really 6 times 6, or 36. So rewriting the problem so far, I have 36 times 2. And then 2 to the third is 2 times 2 times 2. So here we get 2 times 2 is 4. 4 times 2 is 8. So now I've got plus 8, and then plus 5 squared. That's 5 times itself twice. So 25. Okay. So we took care of the parentheses. We took care of all of the exponents. We have 3 of them in this case. Now we're down to just multiplication and addition. So we want to take care of multiplication first. All right, it's the third step to the order of operations, where addition is not until the fourth. So 36 times 2, if you need to do a little side work, I'm out of space here, but if you do need to do a little side work, you could multiply this out on paper. So it's 72, and then we've got plus 8 and plus 25. So now we can just add from left to right. So 72 plus 8 is 80, and then we add 25 to that, and you should get 105 as your final answer. All right, step by step. Every time you do a step, rewrite the problem, and then do side work. Again, don't become so heavily reliant on the calculator. Okay, it's good to have the calculator. They're great when you get like really nasty stuff, but for really basic stuff, try to bring it all back to the surface. Okay. All right, one more, and then we'll wrap up this video. So for this one, this is another one of those that looks like a fraction to start. So I have 7 times 9 minus 6 plus 3. And that's all divided by 3 squared minus 3. Okay? So when you have something that looks like a fraction like this, the top part, we call it the numerator, the bottom part, we call it the denominator. So you just want to work on the numerator, simplify it completely, work on the denominator, simplify that completely. So for the top, I have 7 times 9 minus 6 plus 3. And you start with parentheses, okay? And one thing I want to point out is this 7 times parentheses 9 minus 6. If you ever have a number that is in front of parentheses, but there's no operation, there's no like plus sign, minus sign in between, it is automatically assumed to be multiplication, okay? So this is really telling me 7 times parentheses 9 minus 6 plus 3. So inside the parentheses, 9 minus 6 is really just 3. And then I'm going to drop down the rest of the problem, which is plus 3. So 7 times 3 is going to be 21. Again, I'll make sure there's a multiplication table somewhere in your Moodle shell that you can pull up. If you want me to, you can let me know, and you can meet me on campus, and I can print a copy for you so you can have a paper copy at home. All right, or you can just work these things out on paper. Try not to, again, I'm going to say it over and over, don't become too heavily reliant on the calculator. It will harm you in the end. All right, so anyway, 7 times 3 is 21. I'm going to add that to the 3 that was right here. And then I take 21 plus 3. That gives me 24. Now for the bottom. So the bottom we have 3 squared minus 3. And you need to remember 3 squared is really just 3 times 3. So 3 times 3 is 9. We've got to do the multiplication first, or in this case, you can think of it as just the exponent first. So we get 3 squared is 9, minus 3 is 6. All right, so what I have so far is 24 divided by 6. I want to go ahead and finish out this division. All right, and you would get 4. 24 divided by 6 is 4. So you've seen several different examples of the order of operations. All right, you can also go into your EdReady and you can watch their video on the order of operations. You can look at their worked out examples through Khan Academy. All right, but at the end of the day, order of operations right here, you want to take care of parentheses or other types of grouping symbols first. So whatever's inside that, completely simplify that. Next, you would take care of exponents and square roots. Third is multiplication and division in the same step. You just work from left to right, so whichever one shows up first in the problem, from the left moving to the right. And then the fourth step is addition and subtraction, same thing, left to right. I can't express it enough. Show all of your steps. Every time you do a step, rewrite the problem, okay? every time you have like a bigger problem, like some more higher level multiplication or something that you can't just do in your head, work it out. Show some side work. You can get one of these little whiteboards right here. You can find them pretty cheap at the Dollar Tree. Sometimes Walmart and Target don't have them really cheap. So if you can get one of those, great. Those are going to be a big time saver. If not, scrap paper. I've got tons and tons of scrap paper at school. If you need it, just let me know. I can meet you on campus. I can get you some scrap paper. Okay. Another thing is a multiplication table. You may not have seen a multiplication table since you were like a tiny kid, but they're really, really helpful. So I can print off a multiplication table for you. Okay. Just have to let me know, and I'll let you know the next time I'm going to be on campus where I can get stuff like this to you. Okay. So anyway, order of operations, you're going to see it in Unit 1 for sure, Unit 2, Unit 3, and Unit 8. Okay, but it's one of those things that just comes up throughout your math career. It's going to come up from time to time, so really make sure you study and understand the order of operations because it's a pretty big topic. All right, if you all need anything else, let me know. I can make these little short videos for really any of the topics. It's going to be hard to really lecture because everybody's working at a different topic or a different unit, but you can let me know what you're struggling with. I can make a video for you. And then in like a week, I'm going to start scheduling little short lessons to do each day in class. So I'll take 20 or 30 minutes to teach a short lesson. I'll let you know what those are going to be. But for now, you just got to let me know what you need help with. I'm happy to make these videos. I'm happy to help you. Join those Zoom meetings. I can do some of this via Zoom. All right, I'll be on Zoom every single class day, so Monday through Thursday at your class time, okay? So you just got to let me know, all right? Anyway, take care. Let me know what you need, and hopefully I'll see you on Zoom. See ya.